On Tuesday evening, we made pancakes together and had them for supper, and I asked my children what Lent is about. Why do we eat pancakes, and what is Lent about? And they told me what they'd learned in school that day, which is that Lent is a countdown to Easter. I said, yes, that's right. And what else? And my son said, I remember one thing. It's a song, and it goes, me alone in the wilderness, 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. I said, yes, that's right. Lent is 40 days because our stories tell us that Jesus spent 40 days at the start of his ministry fasting in the wilderness. And then I started thinking about wilderness as a place of space, a place where things don't happen. Especially wilderness as we imagine wilderness for Jesus. Big rocks, low shrubs, not a lot of movement, maybe heat, stillness, hard work, but also rest and space. For so many of us, especially us ministers, Lent doesn't necessarily have a lot of feeling of space in it. There are extra Lenten studies, extra resources from the denomination, extra opportunities to move people towards Easter, and extra work as we prepare for the busyness of Holy Week and Easter. It's not quite as compacted as it is during the Advent and Christmas season, but it's still a time when it can feel like there's a lot happening. And a lot of the work that we do as ministers is try to create that space for others in the congregation, that space for reflection and connection with the divine. Are we doing it though? I've been thinking about that this year. When I was younger, a university student, during Lent, I spent several years giving things up. I gave up soda pop and I gave up chocolate. And over those years, it became a way of caring for myself and breaking bad habits that I developed. It was a useful experience. And then as I grew older, I started to think about how the idea of giving something up might be missing something of what Lent's about. I started talking about taking something up for Lent rather than giving something up. Taking up a spiritual practice. Taking up an intention for how we are in the world. A way of caring for the earth and for other human beings and connecting with God. And then, over these last few years, I've started to turn back to that idea of fasting and giving something up as an important part of the Lent season, but really through this frame of creating space. Space for connection with the divine, with the movement of the Spirit, space for connection with creation. The animals that, for those of us in these wintry climes, these animals that are resting and hibernating and gathering together in different ways, there's so much more stillness when we pay attention to the natural world that's all around all of us. So I would like to invite you to join me this Lent in thinking about how space can be an intentional part of our Lenten practice. For me personally, as I've been reflecting on this, I was not on top of it enough to have this start for Ash Wednesday. But as I've been reflecting, I've decided that the way I want to create space this year is by extending and making more intentional my prayer practice. And so that each day that I am working, I am also taking time for prayer and expanding that time of prayer so that that prayer includes members of my community of faith, others in the wider church, our world, our human world, and our natural world, as all part of that same whole. If you'd like to join me in making that same intention for space, that'd be wonderful. But more importantly, I invite you to think about what that is for you. How can you ensure that there is some wilderness space for you during this Lent season? What does it look like this year as we continue to follow on the path that Jesus took so long ago, that leads us into deeper relationship with the sacred in all of creation? Blessings on your Lenten journey this year.